So, AI video game integrations are currently very similar to 90s MMOs. Now, I know it may sound a little bit weird, and I don't mean it in the complete literal sense, but in this technological revolution of AI being integrated into everything in your life, the integration of AI into video games, such as the AI video game mod Kim, sees a lot of similarities I've noticed with how MMOs started up in the late 90s. Now, frankly, this has been something on the top of my mind for quite a while now, especially after the past 2 years of developing an AI video game mod. I started to notice the similarities of the issues that we're coming into, and also the issues which most likely befell people making MMOs during the early days of MMOs. And I find the similarities extremely interesting, and so I'm going to share them with you, forcefully. Well, I guess not, you could just exit the video. Anyway, let's get into it and see the similarities between AI video game integrations and late 90s MMOs. Point 1. Technologically complex compared to traditional video games. MMOs require pretty much an army of engineers to design a server solution to allow hundreds of players to play in the same game area, multiplayer, around the world. The coding required to make sure all the information is synced, prevent hackers, and just the sheer complexity of the amount of interactions is really quite baffling, especially when you consider late 90s MMOs such as Ultima Online and EverQuest, with the amount of actions that you could do with this rather new technology. Now, if we compare it to our Skyrim mod Kim, it also has complex backend server infrastructure as well, because that server infrastructure runs all the AI processing, which allows you to have almost real-time conversations with AI NPCs. However, we have to run that on the user's computer, and so there's a whole automated setup, and if you got the mod set up and running on your computer, congratulations. You're now a Linux rep server admin, so you can put that on your resume. Honestly, it's a bloody miracle that this entire thing even works. And I'd think for people developing MMOs in the late 90s, they were probably saying the same thing about their server infrastructure. Point 2. Gameplay interaction is very different compared to traditional games. With early MMOs, there was a huge swath of design changes compared to single-player RPGs at that time. The gameplay, the combat, how you level up, the economy. There's no quick save or quick load system, so what do you do if the player dies? There's all these issues you have to account for, and one of the biggest ones, obviously, is it's a massively multiplayer game. There's gonna be loads of people. How do you account for all the possible player interactions? You got to make sure it was balanced and fun. And people, as we all should know, are quite unpredictable. So how do you design a fun world around all these unpredictable actors? And for AI video games, such as ours with Kim, you're no longer talking through dialogue boxes, you're talking through regular human conversation. So you have to, well, we don't have to completely redesign the game, but how players approach playing Skyrim with Kim, I've found honestly quite fascinating. One of the main things I notice is it takes players longer to play through the game normally, because you're sitting there having conversations all the time, you're not just skipping through the dialogue boxes. And just like with MMOs, AI actors are rather unpredictable, just like people. And so we have to do a lot to make sure they roleplay correctly, don't hallucinate, and don't ruin the player's immersion by talking about real-world stuff. And so the whole design of the game, well, we don't have to design the entirety of Skyrim, thank God, but the design of AI interactions really has to be thought from the ground up to figure out how to make an AI NPC act believably. Point 3. Requires an always online connection. Now for MMOs, this is strikingly obvious, as you wouldn't really have much of a massively multiplayer online experience if you weren't online. But still, the point remains, if you wanted to play an MMO in the late 90s, you better hope your parents had dial-up. And for AI video games, you pretty much need an online connection to get the most out of AI services, because to have powerful AI models generate smart, intelligent responses, you need to be connected to a powerful AI server. Now, this isn't entirely true. You can run stuff locally, but you're not going to have a great experience unless you have, well, powerful hardware at home and some computer wizard magic. The main point being is that we've now turned these single-player games into kind of fake MMOs, because if you want to have a good time playing Skyrim with Kim, well, you're going to need to be online. So thankfully these days, it's a little bit easier. Point 4. A subscription model is required on top of having to buy the game. Now, this is a topic which could have an entire video of its own, but we'll leave that for another day. Anyway, for early MMOs, and even today, most of them require a subscription service because the company have to maintain servers for you to connect on for you to do your dailies. And so they can't just have you buy the game once and have that be their only revenue source if this MMO is going to last for years. And so that's why MMOs, mostly, have subscription services, and it's a widely common practice now for an MMO to have a subscription service of some form or another. Now for AI video games, it gets a bit weird, and to clarify for our mod, it's not a paid mod, it's completely free, there's nothing locked behind the paywall. However, to get the most out of the mod, you need powerful AI hardware. Most computers can't run all this powerful hardware on top of Skyrim, especially if it's heavily modded. And I know most of you playing Skyrim have all those 4K texture packs. So, what do? You have to use an online cloud provider, but you have to pay money for that, on top of having to pay for Skyrim, which is quite different compared to most other Skyrim mods. Now frankly, we're quite lucky with how cost effective it is to rent out AI services externally, as most AI providers usually provide a pay-as-you-go model, which means you only get charged whenever you use it. If you have the credits sitting about, they're not going to be used. It's not like an MMO where you have 30 days and you better play all weekends to get the most out of those 30 days. The point still remains is that Skyrim is a one-time purchase game which you can play wherever and whenever you want. However, if you want to have AI interactions in the game using our mod, you're going to have to put down money, not a lot of money mind you, to actually get good immersive AI interactions out of it and to continue having those immersive interactions. Frankly, you kind of have to treat it like a light MMO subscription, not as oppressive due to the time limit. And without getting too much into the reach in it, I think this is going to be a pretty major hurdle which game companies are going to have to overcome when they have to start monetizing AI interactions and integrations into actual mainstream video games. My final point, not to be too derogatory here, but really no one knows what they're doing at this point. Let's look at early MMOs as an example. You have Ultima Online, with its massive, immersive sandbox world where you could craft your own weapons, build a house, and then get killed by a mage. You have Evercrest with its rather large and impressive 3D graphics world, but also very grindy gameplay. That grindy gameplay would have you keep you playing the game for months, so you could get the next piece of better gear. You have RuneScape, which allowed you to play an MMO with just your mouse, and also fit it into a web browser. Sega managed to get Phantasy Star Online working on a Dreamcast, a console, and then you have EVE Online, which is a game I spent way too many hours on, and has a whole crazy economy which basically simulates the real world. MMOs were, and still to an extent are, all over the place with their game design. However, it really wasn't until 2004 with World of Warcraft where MMOs finally clicked, especially in the mainstream, and became mega popular, and then every single MMO past World of Warcraft for a bit was supposed to be a World of Warcraft killer. World of Warcraft still stands. And I can tell you, it's very true right now for just how experimental it is in trying to develop AI features into an AI video game integration. There's no real textbook of what to do, as it's never been done before. We've tested using vector databases for keeping long-term memory so that NPCs don't forget everything like a goldfish. We've probably tested half a dozen text-to-speech services to try to find a good audio quality service which doesn't break the bank. Retrieval augmentation generation to forcefully inject Skyrim lore into AI NPCs so they don't hallucinate. Dynamically generate new personalities based on the events which are going on in game, so your AI characters will evolve as they play the game with you. And also using image-to-text solutions, or showgaze as we call it, to take pictures of what's going on in game and then have the AI translate out, but trying to do that automatically is difficult because of the token costs required for it. And also they might be looking at a different scene once a generation of the image actually takes place. So how do you actually make sure it goes fast? There's a whole bunch of issues in trying to get AI video game integrations to work. Frankly, we don't really know what we're doing. We're just testing out what is cool and what will hopefully lead to a fun, immersive experience. And hopefully something real stick. Anyway, I want to end this video on this final point. EverQuest back in the day was considered one of the most advanced internet chat rooms, as the game wasn't just about killing monsters, but the downtime between killing monsters made it a social hangout for you to talk with your friends and have a jolly time just hanging out on the internet in a virtual 3D world. How cool is that? Kim, AI mod, is basically an advanced chat room as well, but for Skyrim. However, its main advantage is that you don't actually need any real friends. Thanks for watching.